Welcome back, everyone. It's my great pleasure to introduce to you Carlos Polop, who is holding the engineering degree in telecommunications and the master in cybersecurity. He's also certified as OSCP, CRTP, and OSWE. He has experience as a pen tester for PwC Spain and a security specialist in the Department of Defense of Spain. So yeah, you may imagine that the guy knows a thing or two about security. Now he is employed as the senior pen tester for Sec1 and is permanently based in London. He is an active CTF player, and he maintains the resource accessible by the URL book.hacktricks.xyz that many of us follow. So today he is following his yesterday debut at NoNameCon at a workshop for a similar topic, but his talk today is around the PEASS, Privilege Escalation Awesome Script Suite. Please welcome Carlos Polop.
Thank you very much. So yeah, as you said, today we are going to talk about the PEASS suite. I'm going to try to share the screen now. Okay, can you see it?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Perfect.
Everything's okay.
So let's get started. So the talk is named Local Privilege Escalation on Windows and Linux, Suite PEASS. That's what we are going to talk about. Thank you for the introduction. As you said, I'm really working as a senior pen tester at Sec1, a current company. So I want just to let you know that if you have any question that we are not going to solve today, or at some point you have any question about the PEASS suite or hack tricks, you can contact me on Telegram as Broccoli HTV, in Twitter as Carlos Polop. I have like 10 followers now, so you can be one of the first 20 followers if you follow me right now. Or if you are more traditional, you can contact me via email. So let's see what we are going to talk about today. We are first going to do some introduction about what do we want to escalate privilege locally, what can we achieve escalating privilege. Then I'm going to present the PEASS suite. We are going to see what I have created this suite and what we can expect from it. And then we are going to do a bunch of demos. First of all, PEASS. Then I'm going to show you PEASS, the C# version, and finally a very brief demo with PEASS, the batch version. So, local privilege escalation. What am I interested in indeed? Why most of pen testers, red teams, and even cyber criminals are interested in escalating privilege? So when you can imagine that you have compromised a host, you're inside this host with a regular privileged user, and you may try to access sensitive data, you may try to down memory, you may try to do a lot of things, you don't have enough privilege. This means that you cannot extract all the information that you may as administrator or as root inside this box. That's why you want to escalate privilege. A really good example is that maybe being an administrator, being root, you will have access to better persistent techniques, more exclusive ones, more undetectable ones. That's a good reason. Another reason that I like to explain is that, well, being an administrator in a Windows box or root in Linux, you are going to be able to read every user's files. Usually, you may find some interesting data in real environments. You will also have access to credentials in memory. I think all of us know Mimikatz. So that's what Mimikatz needs to be administrator inside the box. This could also be interesting in Linux. You can also find some credentials inside memory of process in Linux. And also, well, lateral movement is going to be much more easy when you are a high privilege user than when you are a regular user. So we have seen a lot of reasons to try to escalate privilege from a regular user. So, well, now that we have the need, we are going to explain you why I have created PEASS. PEASS is just a bunch of scripts that will enumerate the box and we'll try to find for you paths to escalate privilege, obviously. But before PEASS, there were already several well, privilege escalation enumerators for Windows and for Linux. So why did I create this? Well, I found that the enumeration on these scripts weren't enough, so I just wanted to add some things myself. Another main reason why I create my own script is that most of these other alternatives, you are going to find, well, a lot of useless data, just hundreds and hundreds of lines of useless data that you don't want to read. You are going to get bored to read, and you are just going to start trying to escalate privilege if you need to read all the output of some tools. Also, I like a lot my tools because it has more text than any other tool. I think I can say this because very often I take a look to these other tools that are doing mostly the same of the PEASS, like the PEASS suite. And well, if they have added some new interesting text, I will add it myself into this script just to be sure that, well, you can enumerate any known technique using the PEASS suite. And also, and I think this is the feature that most people love the most, is that the output is colored. This doesn't mean that the titles of the output is colored, they are, but also that the raw output, the things that you are enumerating is also colored. This will help you a lot. This will help you, the pen tester, a lot, because you will know what you need to focus on. You will know where you can escalate privilege, which technique is useless, which technique is useful. So it makes your life much easier. Also, at the moment, I have a bash script for Linux. There are two scripts, one in C# and one in bash for Windows. I can promise you that the macOS version is coming soon. I just started yesterday developing it. What I'm going to do is just, well, modify a little bit the Linux version so it can be run in macOS and open BSD. So it's been a little bit tough, but I promise you that this month we are going to be able to run PEASS in macOS, which is kind of cool. So enough theory. We are going to start now seeing some cool demos. First of all, I want also to present you my wiki, my book called Hacktricks. I don't know if all of you know about it at the moment, but I want to introduce it to you. Well, this is a book with a bunch of resources for InfoSec, mainly focused on pen testing. I want to focus on the checklist at the moment, on the checklist Linux privilege escalation. Here you have all the things I think you should take a look where you are trying to escalate privilege on Linux. Also, if you click on any of those links, you're going to be redirected to the page where you can find all the theory about these techniques. It's going to indicate you what you should look for, how can you exploit the vulnerabilities, well, a bunch of information. I will also recommend you to take a look to this page and be sure that you are understanding everything here before running PEASS. Because if you don't do that, when you run PEASS, you're going to find a really nice output with a lot of colors, very funny output, but you're not going to understand what is happening there. You're not going to understand what is this in this color, what is this red, what is this is in red. So take a look at this before using this tool, because here you will find all the theory and you will understand better the output of the tool. So now let's get started with some demo. Using PEASS in this case. So I have running here a Kali virtual machine, which is connected via SSH to a Ubuntu machine. This is a Ubuntu that I have prepared myself with a lot of vulnerabilities. So you can expect this to be very, very, very vulnerable. And we are going to see it in the output of PEASS. As PEASS can take some minutes to run. I have already run it, but I want to show you the parameter that I have used. Yeah, so I have run PEASS with dash capital P with Ubuntu. This is the password of the user Ubuntu here. And I indicate the password to PEASS because then it's going to be able to use it for some tests. Also, I have indicated this dash A That means that indicates to Limpis that it has to perform all the text, even the most slow ones. So I'm not going to run it now because it will take some time, some minutes, but we are going to see the outputs of running this tool. Okay, so we have it here. First of all, you always notice this big P. It was kind of tough to do it, and I really like it, so I will spend a few seconds looking at it because it's really nice. Also here you can see the version. You should update your Limpis script fairly commonly, fairly often, because I'm not every day, but almost every day I'm adding some new text, fixing some issues. So it's really updated very frequently. Here you can find the legend of the colors. This is the most important color, red with yellow background, because this means that it's highly probable a previous escalation path. The basic information, we have already found two of them. The basic information also indicates that Limpis will be able to perform some network recon. We will see later how we can do this. So let's start with the important part of the output of this script. Some system information. Here, well, we can obviously see some system info, pseudo version. We see here that we have found some reachable folders inside the path environment. This will highly lead us to some kind of previous escalation. You can see more system information, more environment information when Limpis has found some possible IP keys or passwords that you may find in virtual machines or Docker containers in the environment. Also, Limpis will try to enumerate several possibly installed different software. In this case, there's just ASLR enabled. There is no other thing installed. But this is useful just to know what are you going to be able to exploit and what you aren't going to be able to exploit. Then we're going to list some devices. It's always nice to see if there is any unmounted device file system, because we will be able to mount it and extract some interesting information. Available software, it's always good to know about which compilers are inside the system, just in case you need to compile some kernel exploit. Then we are going to be presented with some process information. Always take a look at the processes being run by root, because maybe you could be able to abuse them and escalate privilege. Also, you will check for the permission you have over binaries that are being executed by these processes. In this case, everyone is run by root, so we cannot do anything here. It will also check for possible processes that may have credentials in memory. In order to extract these credentials, you need to be root, but anything this is interesting, because once you get root, you may be able to extract some possible credentials from Apache, from SSH, and from other processes that may or may not be here. We'll check processes running during 1 minute. We'll bring you some cron jobs. Always keep a look in the colors, because as I told you, it's the most important feature of Limpis. In this case, green color means that this is a fairly common cron job to find. So you don't really need to, you won't really be able to exploit it, at least with highly probable, you won't be able to exploit it. Anyway, inside contact, we have found some other previous escalation technique, just color it, so you are definitely going to see it is listing now some services, some installed services. It's going to check also for system path, for service files that you may be able to exploit. In this case, we can exploit an escalate privilege because we have write privilege over some service files. There is system timers, some socket files that we can also use to escalate privilege. You will take the bus config file. If you don't know what is the bus, definitely take a look, because in this case, we have some kind of privilege over some debug interface, but we should always look at it because it's kind of weird. After all of this, we have some network recon, some network information from the system. So the most interesting part here is the active port, because it's fairly common to find that you inside the system you have access to some open ports that you couldn't access before being inside the system. So once you have compromised the machine, always take a look to which new ports you can access. For example, you may be able to exploit this MySQL port, or this is, I think, running Tomcat at the moment. We will also check if you can sniff with TCP down, and in this case, yeah, we can. So maybe we can sniff the network and start some credentials from there. Then we are going to enumerate some user information. As we saw at the beginning, we are inside disk and pseudo groups. This means that we can, it's very, very probable that we can abuse this privilege, to escalate privilege. We need to check also sudo dasl. Yeah, we can privilege using that also. We're going to check also sudo tokens. This is a privilege escalation path that not everyone knows about it. So definitely check it inside this URL, learn about it because it's really interesting. And in this case, LinkPeace managed to exploit it, and we can just escalate privilege executing this. So it's a really, really interesting technique. Also, we will also check PKExec policy. We are allowed inside the PKExec policy to execute PKExec. So that means that we can escalate privilege using this binary. Also, we would show you a bunch of information about other users inside the system, because it's always useful to know about which other users you can find here, about login, not login. Well, the next big chunk of information is going to be about software. This is really interesting because what it's going to do LinkPeace in this section is to search for a lot of software-specific files. And if it finds any of these software-specific files, it's going to try to read it and extract credentials or interesting information from it and bring it out to you. So, for example, in this case, we can see that LinkPeace was able to read the MySQL file, which means that we have successfully extracted the hash of the root user and also the Debian sysmain user. This means that we could be able to at least access as root or Debian sysmain to the MySQL instance that is running, read all the information that is saved there, and if we are lucky enough, escalate privilege inside the local host. LinkPeace is going to look for information of a lot of software, Postgres, Apache, PHP cookies. Yes, we are not going to see all of them because there is a lot. And we are going to also focus on SSH, because LinkPeace is also going to read the SSH configuration file, and it's going to print you out weird things that it may have discovered. For example, in here, it discovered that we have found that root is allowed to log in, which is kind of interesting. We will also try to look for private SSH key inside the system, which is, well, it's always good to find all the private SSH keys as you can inside the system. And it's going to look for a bunch of more details in SSH. We will also look for some cloud credentials. This is very interesting because you may be able to access some cloud account, and there is always a lot of information inside there. We also check the commonly known privilege escalation method of NFS expert. Well, and a bunch of information about software, specific software. It's going to take a look to interesting files. This section is just indicate like, hey, this file is interesting for some reason, so I'm just going to bring it to you and you will take a look at it. In this case, it's going to list all the CID binaries, and it found at least 2 of them that we can exploit to escalate privilege. Also, it's GID binaries. It's going to check for misconfiguration in really.soft configuration files. In this case, we have found that we have write privilege over one of the folders configured. This means that we can escalate privilege. We will check the capabilities. We will take current capabilities, the bus shell capabilities where we are running LinkPeace from, and it's going to check files with capabilities. In this case, you can see here that it was discovered Python and TCP done. This is why we could escalate, we could sniff on the network with TCP done, because it has these capabilities. If you don't know what are Linux capabilities, I encourage you to take a look to the book. It is well explained there, and I think you will learn a lot, because well, it's an interesting topic at least. Also ACLs. told you that we don't know about this. Linux can also have ACLs. This is not something of Windows. And it's always interesting to take a look to the files, to every file that has an ACL, because they have it for a reason, and maybe you could be able to exploit it, like in this case. Well, as I have told you, this section is just talking about a lot of files that you may or may not be able to exploit, a lot of files that may or may not be containing interesting information, and it is going to bring them to you. So here we can see we can escalate privilege with some profile file, with some cron service. It is going to take a look, well, readable log files, just in case we can exploit log rotten. It's going to even read DB files from SQLite DBs and try to extract automatically credentials of anything interesting from them. It's going to read history files. This is kind of nice because LibPeace is going to try to find you the most interesting part of every history file. Like you can see here that it is highlighting the word sudo, but you should always read manually this kind of file because LibPeace could miss something, well, some interesting details. So you should definitely read this manually and get the most of this kind of files. And well, LibPeace is going to search a bunch of information. As I have told you before, you are not going to find any list of unreadable information because there is a lot of it. This is the bigger list that you might expect is something like this. That is limited to 70 lines. This is because, well, we are going to list our hidden files, but probably you're not going to find anything interesting here. So I'm just going to limit you the output so you can have a very brief view of what you can find there, but you don't need to read it, so I'm not going to annoy you with all the hidden files. Also because most of the hidden files, I have just looked for them before, so here is just a bunch of probable non-interesting hidden files. Well, we are going to see much more information. It's going to look also for password, credentials, users inside files, and even it's going to even look for hashes, known hashes. So maybe you can use this to escalate privilege, or maybe you don't. I'm just going to present it to you, and you just decide based on the file and on the hash if this is useful or this not. So this is what you can expect from LibPeace. LibPeace is not going to give you root privilege. It's not going to try to escalate everything it found. It's just going to print you the information. Later, you are the one that will need to exploit your vulnerability. And if you don't know how, you are going to be printed some URL to hack tricks that is going to show you how you can exploit this privilege escalation vector detector by LibPeace. Also, I want to show you this is a trick that not much people is aware of, I think, is that you can use LibPeace to perform a network recon. So in those cases where you have compromised machine and you cannot perform some port forwarding, you don't have Nmap installed, for some reason you cannot upload the Nmap. Well, you don't need to use some ugly scripts in order to try to discover what is running on the network. You don't need to create some ugly scripts to perform a port recon. You can just use LibPeace, which is kind of useful because it's not going to help you to escalate privilege. It's also going to help you to discover what is in the network. So we have three options here. The first one indicates you that you can LibPeace is able to use ping or fping in order to discover hosts. The second one indicates you that you can discover hosts, not scan hosts. You can discover hosts by searching open ports inside the network. This means like, hey, why don't you you can ask to LibPeace, why don't you get this IP and this netmask, and you try to see if any hosts have the port 22 or 80 open. And this way you can find running hosts without needing to rely on ping, that a lot of hosts nowadays have ping disabled. Also using Netcat, it will allow you to scan the ports of an IP, which is kind of interesting because by default, LinPeace is going to scan the top 1,000 ports of the IP you give to LinPeace. So, well, at least this will make your life easier. I'm going to perform here a live demo. So you can imagine that we have compromised this account, this machine. We are using this IP. We say, hey, let's try to discover more endpoints here using a 24 net mask. Let's see if there is any other thing running. We just run this, and LinPeace is, it's kind of fast discovering hosts. So here we can see that we have discovered 1, 2, 3, and 4 hosts. Obviously, the 128 is us, so we don't care about this. But we have discovered other 3 hosts using this script. And now we can say, hey, okay, this is kind of interesting. I want to know what is running here. So let's try to figure it out. And in order to do so, you can ask LinPeace to perform a port scan for you. This is going to perform a Nmap top 1000 port, but we are not going to discover anything because I'm not listening. So let's put something. Let's see that this is actually working. I'm going to listen on port 8080, and I'm going to run this again because this is the host is the machine that we are actually scanning. So we can see that LinPeace successfully detected that port 8080 is running here. So I mean, for those weird cases where you don't have Nmap and you can perform a port forward thing, it's always useful to have this script. So enough about LinPeace. We are going now to talk a little bit about WinPeace. So I want to start again presenting the checklist privilege escalation page about Windows. Now we are going to talk about Windows. So here you can find, as before I explained to you for Linux, here you can find all the things I think you should take a look at when you're trying to locally escalate privilege on a Windows machine. And also, if you don't understand, for example, what is LSA protection, you can click on here. You will access this page where some information is put on you. In some sections, you will also have even more information. So, well, just take a look at it. Be sure that you understand everything that is indicated here, because later when you run WinPeace, you're going to find a bunch of colors, a bunch of sections, and if you don't understand what is happening, if you don't understand what is happening here, you will not understand what is happening with the output of WinPeace. So, just take a look at it. I just try to put in this book every privilege escalation technique that I learned you. I think this is the best page on the internet about privilege escalation, at least on Windows and Linux. I cannot be sure for sure, but I just try to very often take a look to other pages that talk about this same token and add the new tricks. So let's give some demo of WinPeace. As before, I have already run WinPeace here because it could take some minutes, and I didn't want to annoy you with waiting for the output. First of all, WinPeace will try to create some blacklist, as LinPeace does. Then we are going to find this other beautiful piece. I really like this piece, so I think, yeah, I like that. So, okay, you can find here the version also, the legend. You can see here that in WinPeace, you are not going to find this color here that indicates you that this is highly probable privilege escalation path. At some point, I may add them, but Windows shall be a little bit more difficult than Linux, or at least it's not, this is straightforward. You find something and you say, hey, you are highly probably going to escalate privilege using this path. Windows is a little bit more annoying in that thing, so I haven't had added that option yet. So first of all, we are going to talk about system information, as in LinPeas. We're going to see that we are running a virtual machine. We are going to see that the machine is part of the domain. WinPeace has Watson embedded inside of it. So this is cool because then you don't have to run Watson. I update it once in a while. So yeah, it's kind of useful because it found a lot of possible vulnerabilities. Anyway, keep in mind that, I think that Watson was using hotfixes, and it may detect that some hotfix wasn't applied. But if you have one higher hotfix applied, probably this other one is also applied, so the machine is not going to be vulnerable. So be careful, because if Watson detects all these techniques, it doesn't really mean that you're going to be vulnerable to it, I think. So, well, we are good in time, I think. So, okay, let's run a little bit. User environment variables. You can see here some passwords and username. Well, we'll take a look at the red color thing. System environment variables. WinPeace is going to bring you a lot of things that may be interesting, some lab settings, or the WDigest settings. Always take a look at it. If you don't know what is, for example, WDigest, take a look here. We will, for sure, we'll try to bring you some antivirus information. In this case, well, Windows Defender was detected, obviously. We'll also check UAC, because, well, UAC may or may not make your life easier when you try to escalate privilege. We also try to search for PowerShell history file, PowerShell transcript file. Well, a bunch of interesting information. WSUs, always install elevator. Then we have listed here some users information. Well, I'm not going to discuss about it, but it's always nice to have it here. The tokens, this is very, very important. And a thing that I really, really like a lot about WinPeace is that every path that you are going to be printed here in the output, where WinPeace is going to see if you have any permissions over it. So, well, this is amazing, because in several occasions you're going to be able to escalate privilege just because you have some kind of privilege over a folder or over a file. So always take a look at this. Password policies, well, the interesting process, obviously. Here, for example, we have we can write, obviously, over WinPeace because this is our file. Services information. This WinPeace is going to try to find all the services related to this escalation. Like if we can, well, if a file has no quotes and a space, if you can modify a service, if you can file permission over the file or even over the folder, so you can perform a DLA hijack attack. Well, as in LinPeas, if you find that something is in green, it means that it is good from a defensive point of view. This means in this case that you don't have any permission over a path that is written in red. So modifiable services, here is kind of nice because it is taking also a path folder where you may be able to perform a DLL hijacking attack if you have right permission. And in this case, we have. Well, it will also search for software installed. It will let you know where you have any kind of privilege over any file inside any software that is installed. It will show you how to run. It's kind of nice because WinPeace not only check auto-run registry or auto-run folders. I have also taken a look to auto-run's binary of sysinternals and have added at least most of it. So we can see also some DLLs, some other binaries that are automatically executed for some reason. And WinPeace will also check if you have any kind of privilege over their binaries. Also, is going to check if we have enough permission WMIC for auto-run binaries, because you can also use WMIC for auto-running things. Also, we will check studio application. For some reason, this didn't work in this box, but it used to run, at least for me. We will also check for drivers that aren't belong to Microsoft, and well, if you have light privilege over some driver, you may be able to do some nasty things. So next, more information. This is mostly the same as in PEASS. We are going to be printing here things that are listening locally. Also, you are going to be printing firewall rules, which is kind of interesting. If well, you need to bypass for some reason the firewall, just see what is allowed and what is denied. DNS cache. Also, there is a lot of Windows stuff that is going to be recording, that is going to be saving passwords, saving credentials. So here I try to enumerate most of them, like Windows Bow, Credential Manager. For example, here we have found some users, the PAPI master keys, the PAPI credentials, well, a lot of them. Then we are going to see some browser information, for example, Firefox or Chrome or Internet Explorer. You may be able to find some credentials here, so probably, well, it found some login database in Chrome. So if you can read this blue thing here, you will be said that follow the link for further instructions. So yeah, just follow this link, and you will know how to read these files and extract some credentials, if any, from there. Also, we are going to see some interesting files and registry. This just means that for some reason these files and registry presented here are interesting. So let's take a look. For example, from the registry, we can find some petition. In this case, we found some password. We found some cloud credentials, an attended file. Here, we even read this unattended file and extract the password. We found some site lists from McAfee here. Well, this is some object lists that you are probably not going to find in the wild, but it's always good to check for them. Well, you are going to be presented with a bunch of other files. You can see here, WinPeace as WinPeace won't give you endless data that is useless. In that cases, when I think that you may have endless data that is not going to be useful to you, I will just limit the output so you can have a brief view of what you can find, but I don't want to bore you reading a lot of wide, non-useless and boring data, because I hate doing that. So I suppose other people will also hate this. So we are close to finishing this talk. Extra, I'm going to show you a little bit the batch version of WinPeace. I need you to remember that WinPeace, the .exe version that we have seen in action just now, have a really heavy requirement, and is that .NET higher than 4.5 needs to be installed on the machine. So if you don't find this on the box, you're not going to be able to run the .exe. That is why I create a batch version. I also create this batch version for my OSCP, because there were any batch version of CMD of Windows that allows you to enumerate a machine. So I just create this one. So in cases where you cannot use the other one, I recommend you to use this one. And we are going to see how the output of this script looks like. The first thing that you're going to miss from this this script is the colors. You're not going to find any colors here. Also, the output is more or less, I like the output of the other WinPeace script, but this is not my fault. This is because Windows CMD is really annoying, it's really complicated to use, and it's really ugly. So this is the best I could do. Also, I want to show you that the permissions over files that you are going to find here are as specific and as clear as in the other WinPeace version. In this case, you are going to find lines like this one, where you are presented the file, you are presented the first permission, and then you are presented if you have any permission. So you should always pay special attention to these second lines. I know that this will be better if I could just remove this and just put the interesting permissions, but again, this is because how Windows CMD binaries work. In this case, I'm using eCalculus. Yeah, it's really weird, the name of this binary. And well, this is how the information is presented by this binary. I just try to clean the most useless part from it. Well, you can see that you will be able to find almost the same text as in the other script. Maybe you can find more text in the .NET version than in this batch version. But well, if you can run the other one, it's always good to have this trick for you. So I think we have some time for questions. So well, thank you very much for listening to me. I hope you enjoyed the talk. I hope you learned something new. As I said before, if you want to talk to me in some point of your life, you have any question, you can contact me in Telegram. You can contact me on Twitter. You can contact me via email. I appreciate a lot when people suggest me new things to add to the scripts or to have tricks. So if you are thinking about anything that I don't have here that you think will be cool to have, please let me know. And well, that's all. Thank you very much. And if anyone has any question, please feel free.
Thank you, Carlos. That was really dense, I would say. I will have to rewatch that at least a couple of times.
To put colors to make it.
Yeah, that was much better. So okay, I have just a couple of questions here. It's about a dozen actually, but we will have time for only half of them, I guess. So oh yeah, first one is not really a question. It's direct speech. So quote, "Thanks for good job, Carlos. Very tasty for lazy me." 3 exclamation marks.
Oh, thank you very much.
Okay, then question to you. Do you plan to implement your work as additional modules for famous frameworks like Cobalt Strike, Metasploit, Empire, etc.?
Yeah, indeed, I once started doing so, but currently I just update all these scripts so much that maintaining these modules to use with other frameworks was so heavy to me, so I never published it. My goal is once I have maybe finished adding text every week, I will try to improve the usability of these scripts. Also, I really appreciate when the community tries to help me. So I don't know who has write this question, but if you want to help me in doing this task, I will really appreciate it.
Perfect answer. Okay, the next question. Great ideas for bypassing AV in Linux via OpenSSL. Did you mention some ideas of bypassing Windows Defender somewhere in your blog? I mean, similar techniques for WinPeace.
Okay, so I'm going to answer this question, making some span of my big GitHub. Let's start with LinPeace. Here in LinPeace, I haven't installed much about bypassing antivirus. I'm going to tell you the truth, but I have here. Are you seeing my screen?
I do, at least.
Okay, so in the LinPeace README, I have here some very basic antivirus bypass trick that you may be able to encrypt using OpenSSL, the LinPeace, and then with a one-liner executed. So this is going to be decrypted on memory, and you may be able to bypass some antivirus. This is a cool trick if you just need to bypass antivirus in Linux. And in Windows, which is usually harder to bypass an antivirus, I have done something similar, which if you access the README of the .NET project in Linux, the first thing that one of the first things you're going to see is this Kickstarter. And if in this Kickstarter, I say, hey, download the latest obfuscated version. This is because all the releases that I do of WinPeace are obfuscated. This obfuscation consists on let's obfuscate the string, let's obfuscate the, as it's done in .NET, let's obfuscate the function names, like just make this script as weird as possible. So at least for me, it worked to bypass Windows Defender. Indeed, you can even see how you can compile yourself. I use .obfuscation. You can compile yourself a WinPeace version obfuscated. Here you have the instruction, and it should be enough to bypass Defender. At least at the moment, it has been enough for me.
Yeah, it looks like nothing has changed since I've been a pen tester. You repeat that until you are not detected.
Yeah.
Okay, then this will be an easy one. There are plenty of training platforms for hacking. Can you share your favorite one?
Oh, that's complicated. I think. Well,
okay, share two.
If you can see my Telegram is probably Hack the Box because some months ago I really hit Hack the Box really hard. So I really like a lot Hack the Box. But also I'm starting to play with Try Hack Me. It's also a really cool one. You have really cool courses there and you have really cool boxes. So that will be the two that I recommend.
Great recommendation. What information security certification, wait for it, can you recommend for a future pen tester? It's not to start the holy war, but we will have to cover that.
I'm not much into certifications. I have just done, well, I have done the USCP, obviously, because I'm not doing these certifications mostly because of what they are going to teach me, because I think I learn much more in Hack the Box or Try Hack Media than in any other certification. But I just do them because in order to prove myself that I can, and also because, showing your CV, it shows better when you have this kind of certifications.
That's why they exist.
Yeah, exactly. So I may recommend maybe OSCP because it's like the most common and most famous one. I made it like 1 year ago and the machines were really outdated. So I didn't like it, but I do it. If you want to learn, I will recommend you Hack the Box, Try Hack Me, do as much boxes as you can. If you need the certification for some reason, I will recommend you OSCP. I have also done this Red Team Professional certification or something like that for the Tester Academy. I really enjoyed that one because I learned a lot about Active Directory. So I will also recommend that one.
Awesome, thanks. And we actually have time for one more question, and that will be it. When I need to read about some new techniques, I open Hacktricks, but where do you take all this info? What is your main source of information?
That's kind of complicated. I follow some groups on Telegram. I follow some people, well, now more than before because I just deleted the Twitter account. In Twitter, I also read once in a while the GitHub repository of payloads, all the things. So, I cannot give you like a source. Just try to search for Telegram and Twitter groups or accounts. Follow them. I always dedicate like 1 or 2 hours reading new research or new discoveries or even new bug bounties. I love reading bug bounties a lot because you are going always to find new techniques there. So those are my sources.
Yeah, that was my question. Thanks for not having me answer it, ask it in the end. So that's unfortunately all we have time for. We have some more questions left. I think that using your Twitter handle, our attendees will be able to reach out to you. And we have tweeted it out from NoNameCon.org on Twitter. So please follow Carlos. Let's make him social media celebrity, because this awesome content definitely deserves the widest possible audience. Thank you, Carlos. Thank you for being part of the con.
And thank you very much for the conference. It's been great.